Hello, kiddos are coming back into school buildings. Yay.
And in many cases, they're all coming into the school buildings at the same time. Ah,
This is a tough transition point in the middle of an extremely tough year. Our adult bodies are full of stress hormones. We're feeling overwhelmed. Many call it survival mode.
And running a safe, supportive, engaging classroom is an art. There's craft. It's like conducting an orchestra. But when we're in survival mode, all of that nuance and craft feels overwhelming.
So this video is about focusing in and prioritizing the most high value things we can be doing to set ourselves up for success. So back to basics and doing our best to make sure that those basics are strong.
And we picked 4. Number 1, pre-teaching our rules. Number 2, pre-correction prompts. Number 3, praise. And number 4, using our menu of corrective prompts. So let's talk about number 1, pre-teaching our rules. Do I know that my students know where the bar is? Or am I assuming that? Or have we talked about it? Have we talked about it lately? I worked with a bunch of schools in August before kids came back in the fall to make Google Slides presentations to help people walk students through the school rules or the PBIS expectations. And a transition point like this, kids coming back into the buildings, is a perfect, great time to review those rules and expectations.
yeah, schools teach their rules in all kinds of fun ways: videos, games, slideshows, lesson plans. We can get fancy with it, but this video is all about covering the basics.
And you might have a PBIS Google Slides lesson presentation like I just talked about. You might have a poster of PBIS expectations hanging in your classroom. You might have a poster of classroom rules that you came up with. You might crowdsource rules and develop them with your students together.
Whatever the situation is, the point is that we need to set aside time to proactively go through those rules. Make sure our students know where the bar is, what we're expecting from each other. It's way more fun to talk about these rules proactively than it is to review them reactively in a corrective situation.
The second thing we're going to talk about is pre-correction prompts. You may have heard these called preventive prompts. It's about getting ahead of problems. It's absolutely straight up one of my favorite things. Highly recommend you make a habit of frequently using pre-correction prompts.
So how do they work? Before a transition, give kiddos a reminder of what's expected. It could sound something like, when you're working with your partner, remember to use table talk voices so everyone can concentrate.
Another example, now we're going to chat about what you read. Please remember to raise your hand and wait to be called on so we know whose turn it is to talk.
Or I'm going to get us started. Remember to keep your voices quiet so we can all focus.
And lastly, before we walk to the library, who can remind the class one way we can all be responsible in the hallway?
And these pre-correction prompts don't come out of thin air. Mostly we're referencing the rules that we just talked about, the rules or expectations. So the third thing we're going to talk about is praise. And man, just hearing that word, depending on the headspace you're in when you watch this, it's going to hit different. You might want to reach through the screen and slap us.
When we're having a rough string of days or a rough string of weeks, praise is maybe the first thing to go. You might be asking, what is even going right? Or I'm spending all my time correcting. I don't have time to praise.
Valid. We've all been there. Praise can't be an island that exists on its own. The good news is that what we've talked about so far, number 1, teaching our rules, and number 2, pre-correction, they actually make it easier to praise. I'm getting ahead of things and clearly, consistently, and frequently reminding the student and me what I'm expecting of them. It's right there at the forefront of my mind. Those habits are linked: pre-correction, rules, and praise.
And yeah, I might pepper in short generic praise like, hey, good work today, or nice job.
You also want that meaningful, robust, really nutritious praise, like, good job, Courtney. You raised your hand and waited until I called on you. When you did that, I called on you and everybody else knew that it's time to hear what Courtney has to say. And another example is if a student is disrupting the class, I can praise the rest of the class. Oh my gosh, you guys are doing such a good job ignoring distractions. I'm so proud of you right now. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is using our full menu of corrective prompts. So correcting is part of life. We can be intentional about setting ourselves and our kids up for success, but kids are going to make mistakes.
Yeah, and we want to help them keep it small, get back on track, and have it not blow up your relationship with them, because it can start a vicious cycle or keep one going.
So you've got some options. You can use proximity, like rotating around the socially distanced classroom, moving closer to a student's desk if they're having a side conversation. You can also use gestures, the look, or pointing to a poster with the classroom rules on it.
You can use an indirect verbal prompt. For example, like, I love how Court and Rye are using their table talk voices. Or some teachers make it anonymous, like having a student of the day and saying, the student of the day is doing a really great job focusing on the video and taking notes.
You can also up the intensity and go with the direct verbal prompt. For example, Rye, please remember to use your quiet voice and listen. Or George, right now your expectation is to whatever.
And if you need to, you can do an informal chat, like pulling a student aside in the back of the classroom, next to your desk, into the hallway, and having a short conversation. It could sound like, thanks for walking over here with me. Hey, what happened in there? Listen to them, hear them out, reflect back what you heard, show the student that you listened, and then zero in on the issue. You were talking with peers when I was talking to the class, and then present a dilemma. Like, here's the thing, I need to do my job and keep the class on track so the other students can get their work done and not have homework. I heard this isn't your favorite unit and you're not happy with the activity. How can we move forward together on this? And then settle on a plan that I'm okay with and be clear with the student about what I'm expecting of them when we transition back. And then remind them of how it benefits them. Like, I like this plan. Let's both follow up with it so that we can have fewer chats like this.
Another thing we can do is those planned unpleasant consequences or a referral. So again, our goal is to keep it small and get the kiddo back on track, not blow up the relationship. So you might need to refer to a stop and think room or a behavior processing room. Sometimes you just need a hand.
And the goal with all of this is to have a plan. I'm consistent day to day, and I know what my next move is if a student does X, Y, and Z. And some buildings have major minor charts that make this easier. But again, whatever your situation, my goal in my classroom is to have a plan and be consistent with it.
And it has to be a plan that works. We mentioned this earlier. We do get into those vicious, unhappy cycles.
And behavior works in cycles. There's ones we're happy with and ones we're unhappy with. The cycle works like what comes before, what we do, the actual behavior, and then the ripples of what we do, and keeps going in revolutions. And we do get stuck circling around in an unhappy cycle. And if that happens, we need to divert and change course. If we notice that our plan is consistently not working, we do need to step back and change our plan. But that's a conversation way bigger than this little video.
So if you're in survival mode right now, that makes complete sense. This video can't make it all better, but hopefully it helps you to focus on what's crucial, what's going to get us the most bang for our buck, bring it back to basics and make sure we're strong with those basics.
And we picked 4. Number 1, pre-teaching the rules. Number 2, using pre-correction prompts. Number 3, sprinkling praise all over the place. And number 4, using our full menu of corrective prompts and sticking to our plan.
You are amazing. Thank you.